Boo. Okay. The time being 7 o'clock, the warrant having been properly served, this district-wide town meeting is now open. Please stand if you're able, face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Good evening and welcome. My name is Kevin Flynn. I'm the Phillipston Town Moderator, and I've been asked by the two select boards to moderate this district-wide meeting. Let's go through a few housekeeping matters. First of all, if you have a cell phone or a pager, please turn it off now. It's better if you turn it off rather than just turn it on buzz. People hear that buzzing noise. Sometimes it drives them crazy. So please just turn those off. Also, I just want to point out to you where the fire exits are. This is something new in our area, but it's very common in the rest of the country. Remember, there's 2 fire exits at either side of the stage and also at the back of the aisles where you came in. I want to introduce to you the folks who are here in the front of the auditorium. On stage behind me is the school administration and our counsel for tonight, Steve Madaus. I say that right, Steve? Madaus, excuse me, Madaus, from Merrick O'Connell. We have the school committee. We have the 2 select boards from Templeton and Phillipston. We have the Phillipston Finance Committee and the Templeton Advisory Board. In this room should only be registered voters of Phillipston and Templeton who checked in on the way in. If you are not a registered voter who checked in, you should be in the cafeteria. Is everybody here a registered voter who checked in? Yes, good, thank you. When you checked in, you received several papers with you. You received a handout with a yellow paper attached. That yellow paper is a ballot in case we have a paper ballot this evening. It's also your ticket to get in and out of the room. If you need to go to the restroom, take it with you. You cannot get back into the room without it. It is a ballot security measure. So don't lose it, don't give it to anyone. Make sure you hold on to that. If we use it later on, I'll talk about how we use that paper. If we do use it, you will get another colored paper. There were also some handouts on the tables outside from the school department and from the town of Templeton. And now I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some of the procedures that we follow. In this, you also received a single page that was called the Moderator's Procedures. We'll talk about that. As each article is called, and we only have one article tonight, I'll be asking for a motion on that article in a second. Then I'll ask the maker of the motion to explain what that article is about. In this case, it will be the school district committee. I'll give them 8 minutes to explain about that article. When they're completed, I'll then open up the floor to questions. No one can speak unless you're recognized first by the moderator. If you wish to speak, come down in front. There are 2 microphones here. Come stand by the microphones. Wait till I recognize you. When I recognize you, please state your name and your address. That way we have it for the record. Each person gets to speak 1 time on the article. Keep it brief. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. We move on to the next person. I will alternate between the microphones. If you have a question, I will try and determine who's the right person to get an answer for you. Only 1 speaker is recognized at a time. Please maintain respect for the other speakers. Do not speak about people, speak about the article. We're here to talk about ideas, not personalities. If you don't do that, I will stop you and we'll move on to the next person. We're looking for new ideas each time, so please don't repeat what the other person said. No dittos. Come up with something new. If somebody has said what you've already said, or you're online, you're the 3rd person back, and darn it, they said that idea that you had that was a great idea, it's okay to go sit down. You'll think of something else, you can come back later. If you start repeating things, it says to me that it's time for us to take a vote. If things get out of hand, it's time for us to take a break. to stop for a moment, take a deep breath, stand up, do a 7th inning stretch, sit back down, and move on. If you're a voter who has mobility difficulties, difficulty getting down to the microphone, please raise your hand. We have tellers around the room. With the tellers, please raise your hand so people can know who you are. Okay. They will bring the microphone to you so that you can ask your question. You don't have to try and get your way down here. I think I mentioned that if there's a disorderly person or a person who becomes rude or doesn't follow the rules of civil discord, we will ask them to stop. We will ask them if they continue to leave the room, and if they continue after that, we will have them removed. Sometimes people will try to move the question. You cannot make a speech and finish your speech by saying, I move the question. We will not allow that. We will continue on. It's not fair that you have a long speech and then you shut off everybody else from debate. If you want to move the question, that's the only thing that you're going to be able to talk about. And if it seems to me that we haven't had enough discussion, it's not going to be the first thing somebody says, then we will continue for a little while longer and see what else needs to be said. When the main motion has been adopted, one way or the other, whatever that main motion is, and we only have one article for tonight, we've completed our business. My job is to see that we follow the proper rules, that we maintain order, and that we make a decision on the article tonight. With that said, it's time for the first article. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion that the towns of Phillipston and Templeton vote to approve the $19,786,889 budget for the fiscal year 2020 proposed by the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the article as printed, I think, is in the warrant. It's the same number as in the warrant. Okay. Mrs. Hughes of the school committee, is there a presentation on this or an explanation I understand that you'd like to make? Dr. Casavant will speak to this article.
Good evening. Chris Casavant, Superintendent. I won't take 8 minutes. Clearly, we have discussed this a lot. But in general terms, in March, the school committee certified a budget of $20,383,102, requiring an override in both member towns. The override passed in Phillipston. It did not in Templeton. At that point, the school committee then recertified another number after cutting almost $600,000 from the original budget to $19,786,889. If that number, the $19.7 million, passes here tonight, we're done. If another number is approved through this body here tonight or gets voted on, then the school committee will have the option to recertify that number. If it does, the new number, we're done. If it does not, and it holds to the original number, then we're not done. We move towards December 1st and DESE, Armageddon, and all that goes with that. So I will keep that short. I'm sure there'll be more questions and comments to follow, but in general, that is why we're here tonight.
Mr. Curry.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Michael Curry, Chairman of the Templeton Board of Selectmen, speaking on behalf of the Board of Selectmen. I would like to make a motion to amend the main motion by striking the words $19,786,889 and by substituting the words $19,500,000 even. The reason for this this amendment
Scurry, I need to get a second first before you do it. Okay, now you go.
Okay. The reason for this motion is to find common ground between the after number. So Chris just talked about an original number. I'm looking, or the board is looking, to find middle ground between what the Templeton assessment is going to be and the 1/12 budget. In the middle ground is 19.5. It does not automatically adjust numbers to whatever assessments. The formula would go back to the school committee treasurer and the new assessments would take place. So this motion is middle ground to preserve both the town of Templeton's public services and the school district's needs in accordance with their proposed budget. Thank you.
We have an amendment to adjust the requested figure from $19,786,889 to $19,500,000 even. Is there any further discussion? If someone wishes to speak to this, they need to come down to the microphones here. Is there anybody on the stage that wishes to speak to this?
Right here.
Yes, sir.
Tony DeJoy, Chairman of the Templeton Advisory Committee.
Sorry, can you all hear? Okay. Is your mic on?
How's that?
There we go.
Okay. He told me not to eat it. Tony DeJoy, Templeton Advisory Committee Chairman. Templeton Advisory Committee wishes a short period of time to discuss this so we can make a proper recommendation to Templeton voters.
So you need a moment to make a correction?
No, so we can, the six of us can discuss so we can make a proper recommendation to the people we represent.
Okay. How long do you need?
Just a couple minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll hold for 2 minutes. What do you say, gentlemen? Time. Yes, please.
The Templeton Advisory Committee recommends yes for the $16,500,000 number. I'm sorry, $19,500,000 number.
So the recommendation is yes on the adjusted figure?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to come down and speak at the microphones? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Julie Richard, 33 Orchard Lane, Templeton. I just had a statement I wanted to read. As many of you know, we've been discussing this school number for a long time. I can tell you that if the original number from the schools is certified tonight, there will be drastic cuts to public safety. It will hurt police, fire, and our highway, and people in town will definitely notice. Please vote to support the amendment to $19.5 million tonight to protect these essential services to the town of Templeton. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak to this amendment? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Julie, you wanted to, sorry, just a minute. Did I miss somebody? Who's out there? Yes, sir. Come on down.
Thank you. Chief Michael Bennett, Templeton Police Department. Julie is absolutely right. These cuts are going to make a huge effect to the service that we provide, not only to the town of Templeton, but also to the town of Phillipston. If you don't realize, I believe it is 11 or 12 o'clock at night, Phillipston goes off the air. We routinely answer all their calls for service until an officer comes on duty the next day. So if we're going off duty at 3, both towns are not covered from 3 to 7. You have the state police who are coming in. There are only 3 troopers on duty at night. They patrol from the King Philip Bridge to Leominster. That's a wide area. Since we've made our cuts, because we have put our cuts in effect already, we've had a stabbing. We've had an armed standoff. There was also one other major one that I can't remember offhand right now. But that's only since July 1st. We had a bad motor vehicle accident at 11 o'clock at night. If you don't understand the court system, court paperwork has to be back in court the next day. I had an officer on overtime until 6 o'clock in the morning, having to straighten out all the paperwork. So this does not only affect Templeton public safety, it also affects Phillipston. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie Farrell, 24 Myrtle Street, Baldwinville, Precinct B. I just got wind of this amendment this afternoon. I've always been a strong no for the $19,786,000. I believe this amendment strikes a balance between funding the schools and keeping critical services available to both Templeton and Phillipston. So I would urge you to support this amendment. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak on the amendment? I see a couple more people. I see a gentleman coming down, and then you'll be next, sir, if you come down.
My name is Noel Francis, 14 State Road in Baldwinville. I have a question to the elected officials. How many have read the 2017 report of State Auditor Suzanne Bumpus? Could you please show your hands?
No, sir. You direct that question to me, and I will decide who answers the question.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Is there another part to that question, or you're trying to make a point?
The point is, I have read the report, and I basically want to make 3 or 4 points regarding that report. She's actually a state official who really cares about an issue of the report because she cares about regional school districts. In the report, she concluded that the 58 regional school districts in the state were underfunded by a total of $17 million. Today, the underfunding, using her formula, is $20 million, which would be $750,000 for the Narragansett Regional School District alone. She also said in 2016 that school transportation was funded at 73% of the total cost. For our district, and I've read it, we were promised by the state 50 years ago that we would be reimbursed 100% of the school transportation costs every year, subject to the discretion of the state legislature. As far as I know, we've never been funded that amount 100%, and if we were we probably wouldn't be here tonight talking about the numbers. She also cited that regional school districts have antiquated formulas, antiquated funding that do not take into account the 10% decline statewide in regional school district enrollment, even though the overhead cost is still the same. And there's no accounting for the transporting and placement of special needs students outside of the district. Whatever the vote may be, I just find it terrible. You know, my son is a firefighter in Templeton, and with a budget the way it is, he has a $7,500 cut in his salary. I'm sitting tonight next to Jimmy Russo, a resident of Phillipston, who has 2 children who are about to enter the regional school system, and they need additional funding. If the Bumpus report was adopted, and all I'm asking tonight is that going forward is that our elected officials, I don't have time to do this, but our elected officials, you should be camped out on the door of the state legislature demanding that the Bumpus report recommendations be adopted. Thank you.
Okay. Sir.
Yes, my name is Dr. Tom Reynolds, 68 Laurel View, Templeton. It's a difficult piece of information for me as well, because being a school teacher and working at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, I really believe in the work of the Narragansett Regional School District, and I also think we have an incredibly fantastic police and fire department, and I hate to see both in this kind of difficult situation. Before we vote on it, I was curious, has the school department thought about how this $383,000 cut, how that would affect the district? Has that already been discussed? I was curious. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Have you had a chance to think about how that would affect?
Chris Casvan, Superintendent. We thank you for the number. We calculated that into the revenue sheet, and we would be approximately $300,000 short if the number currently that's presented right now be passed.
Yeah, I think he's.
What? Well, the impact, okay, so the impact itself, sorry, $300,000, because we're staff intensive, we're a school district, would mean staff. It would mean staff, right off the bat. So if the question is how many and who, that is a whole other conversation and takes a much longer time to figure that out. So I apologize for just giving you just a blanket number. Of course it would affect staff. How many and where? I don't know that at this point in time.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, then let's call the question. We're still on? We're still good? Okay. All those in favor? Whoa. Sorry. One more.
What I'd like to know...
Sorry, I have to know your...
I'm sorry, Dennis O'Brien, Balderville Road, Templeton.
Okay, there we go.
I would like to know...
You're on. Just got to hold it really close.
Okay. I would like to know, I heard if we don't have enough staff into this new school, that our payment to the school, to the state would change. Is that correct?
You'd like to know, so can you hold it again right close to your mouth?
Yeah.
Like you're going to eat it.
Okay. No, what I'd like to know is if we don't have enough staff to fill all the rooms in the new school, I was told before that the state would not give us as much money for the new school as we're getting now. Is that true?
Chris Gansett, Superintendent Schools. That version, that's really talking about the MSBA
Yes.
and the project funding agreement. And if on one of the scenarios, if we did not have all of the rooms or many of the rooms filled with the classes that was part of the agreement, there was a concern that would affect the reimbursement back to Templeton. Because it's an agreement that you're going to do, obviously going to have so many classrooms at so many grades, et cetera, et cetera. That is now no longer an issue. The grades, every grade, every classroom is full, has children, has teachers. So as of right now, that's not a concern.
What I'm concerned is if you cut the budget, how is that going to affect the teachers in that new school?
Sure.
For them rooms.
Right. So obviously you need teachers to teach. I think that we'd have to see what effect it would have to be, but truly it would almost be impossible to cut that much money in staff, just given the fact that we have, X amount of teachers. So I don't want to speak too much past that, which I would have to really look at if you could put other kids in other classrooms and double up or triple up, whatever. I don't know. I'm simply saying that it would certainly affect that, and I would think that the MSBA would not have an issue in terms of the PFA at this point, given the fact that the number of children that was allotted would be in there.
Thank you.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am. Name?
Marita Fuller, Baldenville. I was wondering, with the new amount of the $19,500,000, does the school committee approve that? Or are we going to have to, do they agree with the amount? Or are we going to have to be back here again after we vote this in?
Okay, you need to say that.
Sorry, we can't speak to that. We have a meeting scheduled on Tuesday where we will review whatever these results are, and then the committee as a whole will make a decision.
Jennifer Scott, 33 Boynton Road, Templeton. I was wondering if you could clarify for Article 1 what a yes vote would mean and what a no vote would mean.
I'm sorry, say that again, slow.
For Article 1, what would a yes vote mean and what would a no vote mean?
Right now, we're voting on an amendment. We would be voting on an amendment to Article 1 to change the number from 19 million, yeah, that's why I have to get a different pair of glasses out. $19,786,889 to $19,500,000.
So
we would be reducing the amount of money.
Okay, if you voted yes, then it would reduce it to
If you vote yes on the amendment, you're reducing the amount of money.
Okay, and we get all the budget cuts if we vote yes. The school takes budget cuts. And if we vote no, the school doesn't take budget cuts?
If you vote no, then that number stays at the proposed number from the school department.
Okay, so it stays at the 19.7? Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
So the town gets budget cuts if we vote 19.7. How do we make it so nobody gets budget cuts?
That's what I'm up here for.
I don't want to do that.
That's the magic question.
I can attempt to answer that question. So, to answer your question, to fully fund both towns, Phillipston, Templeton, and the school district. The school district, as the superintendent said, needed just north of 20 million. Chris, thumbs up. They needed just north of $20 million. The town of Templeton, remember this is a joint meeting, so I'm speaking on behalf of the Templeton citizens and the Templeton Board of Selectmen. The Templeton budget could support $6.49 million. That was a 2.5% increase from what Templeton's assessment was for the previous fiscal year. When we presented that, there was a budget shortfall of $988,000. We sent that to the ballot. Actually, let me add, it was approved in town meeting that we would accept the $20 million school budget as long as the 988 override passed. It did not pass. So therefore, the Templeton voters said, you cannot have extra money, so therefore there is not going to be enough money to go around for both Templeton as a community and the school district for what the Templeton's assessment was. Does that help you so far? Why we don't have enough money for everybody?
That helps me understand why.
So, previous special town meeting, okay, a little bit recent history. Last month, Templeton had a special town meeting where the issue of 6.49, the original assessment, basically telling the school that they would have to go out of pocket for an additional $500,000. That passed in the special town meeting, but the school committee did not recertify that number. Meanwhile, we had started the fiscal year. We went into what's called a 1/12 budget. That basically means that the Department of Education, DESE, Department of Elementary, Secondary Education, thank you, decided what the school committee's budget needed to be. And through their formula, they decided on 19.7 and some odd million dollars, what they basically recertified for. That was still over what Templeton could pay for. That special town meeting, we did not offer any kind of compromise at that point. We basically stuck, Templeton, quote unquote, stuck to their guns and said, we're going to give you what we originally agreed to. The school committee voted unanimous to not allow that 6.4 assessment. So that brings us tonight to the 19.7 as a community. The amendment that is on the floor right now was after a Board of Selectmen meeting where we decided we want to compromise. We can't have all of it, but we decided we'll cut some, the Templeton assessment side, for what we can do on a budget. And then we're basically asking the school committee, if that is approved tonight, to go back and recertify that lower number, which, as Mr. Casavant did say, represents almost $300,000. It's about 286, call it 3. So that means that they would have to go find not $500,000, but almost $300,000. So what I wanted to get up here and reiterate, if we're both making cuts, we're compromising, we're trying to get to a point where we're not breaking our back. So Chris a moment ago, Dr. Casavant a moment ago said it's going to be staff. That's his. We put him on the spot. Someone in the audience asked him the question and said, tell me what that impact is going to be. That is the easiest way for him to say, of course this is going to be staff. How else am I going to cut? Someone could stand up. Well, actually, Chief Bennett was already up here and said, if we cut $400,000 to Templeton, excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. If during this compromise, if we assess $200,000, what would that be? Would it be staff? Would it be playing with the numbers? And so I want to leave you with this. Why are we here to compromise? Why did we say 19.5, which is a middle ground? We're talking about complex budgets. They're staff heavy. We're a small community. We're a small community. So Templeton doesn't have enough police. There's debates about that. Templeton is thin on staff, so it's only natural to cut staff. Dr. Casavant's correct. They would have to immediately look at staff. But with these complex budgets, what I'm advocating for is look into the things where we use round figures, or we're estimating. On the school budget side, I swore to them I would not do this and look at their own budget. But if you have electric costs that are estimated for $200,000, that's coming out right out of your budget document, that's an estimate. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. What I'm asking for, don't go for the staff. We want the teachers. I have children in the Narragansett School District. I want everything I can possibly get from our school district. What that 19.5 number represents is a fair compromise in the middle. Recognize we're going to be right back here doing this for FY21. And now we have time to basically go back and say, how do we preserve what we want with the revenue that our communities have said that you can have? That is all I have, Mr. Moderator.
All right, ma'am, you've had more than a couple of questions, and there's a couple of folks behind you, so let's move on to them.
Would you mind if I just, again, so no, voting no means budget cuts to the town. Voting yes means budget cuts to the school.
Voting no means it goes back to the original request number.
Okay.
Voting yes means it goes to the lower number.
Okay.
This gentleman behind you here was waiting, and we'll go back and forth. Sir?
Want to give this to him?
No, to you. You were
me.
standing there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this on? Okay.
Yes, it is.
My name is Steve Drury, 18 Drury Lane. I'd like to make a comment, Mr. Monitor,
Okay.
on the system. I've watched this as the selectman has said over and over. We keep coming back. We keep coming back. And you know what? The system doesn't change. So, you know, there's a new system, okay? It's a 21st century system. It means that what we need to do is we need to let the kids stay at home. We need to teach from K to 12 at home. We need to turn the school into a library for the teachers only so that they can teach through the internet. We will eliminate all the lunches. We will eliminate all the problems with busing, all the behavior problems. We will eliminate just about everything. In fact, one of the selectmen told me tonight was actually announced on television of a pilot plan, and I had brought this up before. China's doing 33 million like this. So if you keep doing the same plan over and over and it keeps going, you know, more and more money to us, well, we can't afford it. But you're not really making any change. So what we really need is you to take the time and redo the curriculum and re-spend the money so that we actually teach our children, and it's going to be so much better doing it the way I'm proposing than to have it the way you're doing it, because your system is failing. Your system in public schools nationwide is failing.
Okay, I think we're going to move on. Thank you. Over here, ma'am?
Yeah. Connie Cornell, 121 Brooks Village Road. I was just wondering, as a retired teacher, what is the base pay approximately for either a Templeton or Phillipston teacher? Because that would give us an approximate idea of how many staff members you'd actually cut with that $300,000 if you went for staff.
What is the base pay for a Templeton or Phillipston teacher? I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it. It's okay. Just for a moment. It's not gonna hurt anything for a moment.
Chris Casvan, Superintendent of Schools. What was the actual, we're back here, so it's very hard. The base pay
You're looking for the base pay?
Right. For a starting teacher in one or both districts, they may not be the same. I don't know. I taught in Fitchburg.
Yeah.
That's where I worked at.
Thank you. So, bachelor's 1, the base pay is $42,922.
Okay.
All right.
Yep, thanks. Okay.
So you're
Ma'am?
talking 7 or 8 positions.
He was next.
Tony DeJoy. All right, Tony DeJoy, 8 Minute Man Drive, Templeton. I'd like to echo what Mr. Curry said, is we're going to be right back here next year. Part of the problem is the regional school district has not, regional school district agreement has not been amended or touched in many, many years. So for the people of Templeton, we pay 84% of whatever is left over, which means to keep, for example, Phillipston Elementary open, we pay 84% of the operating costs of that. So one of the solutions to that, and I know it's not a popular solution, is either A, the town of Phillipston can pay the entire operating cost for their school, we pay it for ours, or you close Phillipston Elementary. The burden should not be on the town of Templeton to keep another community's school open when we're hurting this bad. We should not lose police, fire, or anything, but we also need to educate our kids.
Okay. Ma'am?
Hi. Mary Martin, State Road. I'm having a real hard time believing that $300,000 is going to fix the problem, because that's really one good winter's plow budget. So we're going to be spending that anyway if we get hit really hard. I know for a fact, having worked for the Athol Police Department, having friends and family on the Athol Police Department, that on the overnight we post the line to cover Phillipston in case they need it. If by chance that officer gets pulled, yep, goes right to state police. Gardner's also trying to make this a regional district, so they're trying to cover all areas with one big blanket of a dispatch center and police patrol. So I'm having a hard time understanding why there's such a need for $300,000 cut to save public safety. Does anyone have an answer that could help me?
You're looking for an answer from...
I'm looking for an answer because I know I've dispatched for Athol. We've posted the line. We know how to protect our own.
They keep making me shut it off. Point of order is that the article being discussed is the school budget, not anybody else's budget right now.
Right, the article being discussed is the amendment.
Why is there a proposal to cut $300,000 more, and why does that make a difference?
Why does that?
But we didn't do it. We're here to discuss the school budget.
No, I know. I'm not asking you.
She's asking why is the amendment
Right, but this is
proposing
the
to cut
school budget's
$300,000?
district-wide town meeting focusing on the school budget. So my point of order is that we need to focus on that.
Right, but the chief of police came up and
she's
said.
asking a question of the person who proposed a $300,000 cut. Why would that make that much of a difference? Is that right?
That's correct, because
Okay.
that's essentially one good doozy of a winter in plow costs.
And Mike?
Okay, thank you.
Mike, keep it brief, please. Okay.
Thank you.
So if I understand your question, you're questioning cuts.
I'm questioning your proposal to cut it to 19.5 as opposed to the original because it would save costs.
Okay. So, excellent. I did understand your question.
Okay.
It's a revenue problem.
Okay.
We don't have enough revenue to support 19.7, at least on the Templeton side. Phillipston, you're past the mark. You did it. You passed your override. You could pay your bill. Templeton cannot pay their bill.
Okay.
So we, as a community, would have to go through, and we've been public about what our proposed cuts would be if we had to come up with the other side. So if the school gets understand when I say the school gets, I'm trying to be brief. So the school doesn't get the money. It's basically the budget that they are allowed to spend. So if they get $19.7 million, the town of Templeton cannot afford that assessment, which is $6.9 million. What we could support was $6.49 million. That difference of about $500,000, $400,000 to $500,000, the town would have to make cuts to services so that we could pay the mandated bill from the school district's budget.
Okay.
That's why we would have to cut that amount.
But some of those services already don't exist. Like the Phillipston overnight for patrol is covered by Athol or state police. Or Templeton.
So you could talk comparable services. I could ask Chief Bennett to kind of talk about how we do municipal
address
aid,
your comments
but
this
it's
way.
about cuts.
Sorry.
We're not having a conversation here. The short answer is that you can afford.
revenue-based.
You need another $300,000 cut. That's what you're telling us?
Because you're not making it
The
in the long run.
19.5 amendment that we're talking about right now splits the difference virtually. I know 300 versus 200, but it virtually splits the difference to say, let's get through this budget year without having the state come back in December and direct everything.
Okay.
Okay, we're done then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Move the question. Oh, I'm sorry, my name's Ruth French Phillipston. Move the question.
Okay. So motion to move the question. Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move the question. This is not debatable. All those in favor of moving the question, this is a standing vote count by law because of the nature of this meeting. So all those in favor of moving the question, we're going to do this in sections. This section, all those in favor stand. In favor of moving the question, stand and remain standing. It's a 2/3 vote. All those in that section, the far section, in favor of moving the question, shh, shh, shh. Please stand and remain standing while the tellers count you. I got 2 tellers here, right? All those in the center section in favor of moving the question, please stand and remain standing while the tellers count you. Sue, will you count these folks here, please? Anybody on the stage want to stand? Okay. So did you get these folks too? Okay, you can sit down. Thank you. On the stage, you can sit.
Pretty sure it's over 2. Oh, it's well over 2/3. Well over. A lot of houses for sale in Templeton.
Rick, please also count the ladies in the hall who are, the check-in ladies.
A lot of houses for sale. A lot of people moving to Templeton. I mean, Apple. Moving from Templeton out.
Moving to Apple. Please be seated.
Oh, that's also in the new school.
Have a seat. Rest easy. Okay. All those opposed, all those opposed to moving the question, please stand and remain standing. Nobody. We should have started here. Okay. Well, we're moving the question then. The question is the amendment to the main motion to change the figure from $19,786,889 to...
Excuse me, Mr. Moderator.
$19 million.
Mr. Moderator.
I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of the motion, sir. $19,500,000. All those in favor of that amendment, please stand and remain standing while the tellers count you.
We're in favor of it. That we want. No. Point of order?
For the main motion?
Point of order.
Yes. For the main motion, you wanted a paper ballot?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the amendment, not the main motion.
Okay.
Okay.
So we got 2, 4.
simple majority or two-thirds?
This is a majority.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator? Mr. Moderator? Mr. Moderator? Point of order?
Voting on the amendment. Right. Just want to be clear to everybody. We're voting on the amended number, right? You understand? Okay. We're not voting on the main motion yet. We're voting on the amended number to change it to the $500,000 number. We still have yet to vote on the main number. Okay? Please sit down. Fan yourself if you've got a good piece of paper. Those opposed to changing that number, please stand and remain standing while the tellers count.
Simple majority. I believe it was simple majority is what it said. I believe.
Sue?
You asked that question, correct?
Susan? Did you get the folks up here?
Did they have an overflow? Did they have an overflow? Yeah. Do you want
You all can sit down now. Thank you.
What is your name? Amanda. Sorry. Are you really nervous? Belize daughter? No, I'm just Dennis's daughter. Dennis, Marie, Diane, Marie, my uncle is Bruce, Craig, my aunt Cheryl. They grew up on Brentwood?
Okay, the vote was to amend the number 190 in favor, 110 against. So the amendment carries. No, simple majority. Simple majority. All right. So the main motion has been amended. Thank you. The main motion has been amended to $19,500,000. I have received a motion that was sent to me at the beginning of the meeting to vote the motion as a paper ballot, and it was seconded. I'm going to explain to you, we have to vote on that. I'm going to explain to you how a paper ballot works. When you came in, everybody was given these yellow papers. It has a yes and a no check off on it. Sorry? Okay. What we do with a paper ballot is you will, in your seat, check off yes or no, and then the tellers will go up the aisle and allow each row to come down, and we'll do this by section, one section at a time. The row will come out, they'll deposit their ballot into the ballot box. This box we're using, ladies. Whether it's yes or no, it all goes in one box. They'll get a new paper ballot. They'll go back to their seat. Then the next section comes out, they'll put it in, and then the last section comes out, they'll put it in. Then we wait while the ladies and the assistant town clerks open the ballot box and count. You have to remain in the room. We don't leave, we don't go out, we don't go anywhere. We wait however long it takes for them to count. It's a majority count on paper ballot. And that's how we'll determine how it's made. We take a vote to determine whether we want to use a paper ballot. It can take 30 or 40 minutes. I'm just letting you know. It's a time-consuming process, but we can't have people going in and out of the room because of ballot security issues. So you're going to have to just wait through that process if that's the way you want to proceed. So, those people who want to use a paper ballot, and this is... Yes, sir. No. No further discussion on an amendment. No, sir. We're supposed to go straight to the amendment. No. No. We go straight. Nope. You go straight to the main motion. No further discussion on it. We're going to just vote on the decision to use paper ballot. Is it 2/3 or majority vote on paper ballot? On paper ballot, 2/3 or majority?
Of order.
Just a moment. Majority vote on paper ballot. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Are we paper voting for the vote that we just hand counted?
No, we are paper voting on the main, whether we will vote the main motion as a paper ballot. We are going to do a, we're doing a standing count on whether we will have a paper ballot on the main motion. There's no further discussion on the main motion.
So the amended motion is what we're voting for the paper ballot for. Okay, that's all I have.
The final number, the $19,500,000, whether we vote it up or down. We're going to have a vote, a standing count vote on whether we want a paper ballot on that, a secret ballot on that motion. So let me do this again. Shh, 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 shh. We have a motion and a second to have a secret ballot on the final count, the final ballot, the $19,500,000. It works better if you listen. We have a request for a paper ballot on the final motion, the $19,500,000. It requires a majority vote to decide whether we will have a paper ballot or not. I've explained how the paper ballot works. We go row by row, section by section, then we sit here and wait while it's counted, and that tells us whether or not that motion, the $19,500,000, passed or not. So, to decide whether or not we have that paper ballot, we have to vote on it. That's done by a standing count, by law. So, those of you who want to have a secret ballot, stand and remain standing while the tellers count you. If you want to have a secret ballot, stand and remain standing while the tellers count you. Please be seated. Shh, 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 shh. Okay, if you do not want a paper ballot, please stand and remain standing. O'clock, not bad. Have you got all the numbers? Please be seated. Okay, the results are 32 yes for a paper ballot, 267 no for a paper ballot. Sir, you have a question because we have to move right to the
Yes,
motion.
Mr. Moderator. I have a question about the voting process in general. The bottom line is that we have established that the Templeton has voted no. We've established that Phillipston has voted yes. Then we bring both of the two parties together in this forum, which basically can cancel out, the Phillipston people can cancel out or add to, rather,
What's
the
your point,
positive. And what I'm getting at is that if it's 87 or 83% that Templeton has to pay and Phillipston pays the rest of the percentage, we're unfairly represented.
You're finished, sir. We're done here with that. It's time to vote. Please go take your seat, sir. Thank you. Mr. Haley, what's...
We still have to debate or discuss the main motion. We only moved the amendment, not the main motion.
We voted the amendment, and now we move to the main motion immediately. Thank you. Please be seated.
I think you're wrong.
We are welcome to take it up with the Superior Court. The motion on the floor is the main motion as amended to approve a budget of $19,500,000 for fiscal year 2020. This is a majority vote. All those in favor of that motion?
Mr. Moderator,
Apparently, I'm in the middle of a motion right now.
is there an attorney here? Could he answer the question?
He says that we need to, I don't know. Motion's been seconded. Council says the moderator is correct. Okay. All right, we'll try again. The motion before us is to approve a budget of $19,500,000 for fiscal year 2020 for the Narragansett Regional School District. This is a majority vote. All those in favor, please stand and remain standing while the tellers count you. You can sit down. Shh. All those opposed to the budget figure of $19,500,000, please stand and remain standing. Folks, you can sit down. She's got you. You can sit down. Kim? Thank you. You can be seated. Shh. Okay. The main motion as amended for $19,500,000. Ayes 203, nays 107. Motion passes by majority vote. Okay.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion we dissolve the meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion is carries. Meeting is dissolved. Please drive safely. Thank you and good night.